Welcome back to Cooking with Kayla D. I'm Kayla, and this is my husband Randy. My disclaimer. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you get all the up-to-date episodes. Today we're going to be making a homemade pumpkin creamer for a pumpkin iced coffee and also a pumpkin pecan coffee cake. This recipe was inspired by one of the most amazing people we know, Sister Tiffany Tellerday. She is one of our dearest friends. We've known her for years, and she is always excited for fall so she can get to DK and get them pumpkin coffees. Then she starts making them on her own. Thank you, Tiffany, for inspiring this delicious pumpkin video. To get started, we're going to start with our cake. You're going to need a box of cake mix, white or yellow, 1.5 cups of pumpkin puree, not pie filling, puree, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 2 tablespoons of oil, 1/4 cup of water, 2 tablespoons of pumpkin pie spice, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Let's get to it. So here I've got my ingredients all laid out. I've got my cake mix, my pumpkin puree, my oil and vanilla, my water, my pie spice and cinnamon all in one container. And I'm going to be doing this into a bread baking dish because I'm doing a half recipe here. So first you want to do is break up your cake mix and get all the lumps out of it. Now, if you're wanting to skip the cinnamon and the pumpkin pie spice, you can opt to get a spiced cake mix. I just did not have one on hand, and plus I think it tastes better adding the spices in myself because you can control the amount that's going in. When you do it with a spiced cake mix, it just doesn't taste as good. So after you whisk all your lumps out of your cake, we're going to go ahead and start adding in our ingredients. So first I want to go ahead and add in my pumpkin puree. And we're going to go ahead and add in, and make sure to scrape that really good. You want to get it all in there. We're going to add in our oil and our vanilla right into that. Next, we're going to add our spices, our pumpkin pie spice and our cinnamon. And then you're just going to start mixing this up. You want to make sure to combine the cake mix into those wet ingredients and the spices. And you want to do it so it is done evenly. So you want to keep doing that and folding that in. And then I add like a couple tablespoons of water at a time till we get the proper consistency. And since I'm doing a half recipe, that's why I chose to do it like that, to make sure I get the right amount of water. So I will keep on doing that. And as you can see, it's starting to get a little bit smoother, but I will need to add a little bit more water to it until we get that consistency. And I'll show you that right now. As you can see, it's like a cake mix, but it is not real runny. So I did go ahead and set that to the side. I'm going to go ahead and spray my baking dish and get the cake in. Now, it's really important when you're doing this recipe not to follow the instruction on your cake mix, but to actually do it as I have shown you here and using the ingredients as it says in the description area. So you can go ahead and put your cake mix into your sprayed pan that you're going to be using. If you're doing a full recipe, this does do a 9x13 baking pan. But if you're doing a half recipe, then a bread pan is sufficient. You want to get all of your batter into your baking pan and pat it down evenly. I tried to do that wiggle and shake thing and tap, tap, tap. But of course it didn't work because the dough is very thick when doing one of these coffee cakes. So I did have to go ahead and use my spatula and pat it down, making sure that it was even throughout the pan. Then after that is done, you're going to set that aside. And now is when you want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees while we work on the crumble topping. So for the crumble, you will need 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of softened butter, not melted, 1/4 cup of chopped pecans, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I am using a sugar supplement for my brown sugar. It is Swerve brown sugar, and I've got my salt poured right into that. You can swap out any of these ingredients for keto options. You can get a keto cake mix at Walmart. I will have a link for that in the description area for all the keto options. Next, you'll want to put your spice in, and then you'll want to do your butter. Mine did slightly melt, and it was fine. It crumbled still just fine. You'll want to go ahead and mix that up. Once you have that thoroughly mixed, then you can add in your pecans. I just did a rough chop on mine. If you do not like nuts, you don't have to put that in, and you can also substitute for any type of nut that you want. If you're not a nut person, but you still want that texture, you can substitute and put oats into this instead of nuts. And as I said, I will have the keto options that you will swap out, but you will still make the recipes as I have stated here in the video and in the description area. So go ahead and mix in your pecans and make sure that you mix those in thoroughly. You want to have your brown sugar mixture and your pecans combined well. I'll also have links for a description for another fellow YouTuber who is a keto personality, and she has a great recipe for keto sweetened condensed milk for the coffee recipe that we're going to be doing here today. It is a non-keto version, but if you are keto or sugar free, then by all means go into the description area and click on the link for her recipe, and she will walk you through how to make the keto version of the pumpkin spice iced coffee. She is absolutely amazing. So you're going to take your cake and you're going to go ahead and pour on that crumble, and you want to make sure that it is an even layer all the way across. I sprinkle a little here and a little there until I have every single spot plugged up with that delicious topping. And now we're going to go ahead and just pat that in to the cake mix as well as we can without putting too much pressure. And then we're going to go ahead and get this into the oven, and like I said, at 350 degrees for 35 minutes, and that is for the full recipe or this half recipe. That time does not change. So now ours is out of the oven. We're going to go ahead and let that cool, and now we're going to make our creamer ingredients. 1/2 cup of heavy cream, 1/4 cup of water, 2 tablespoons of sweet condensed milk, 2 tablespoons of pumpkin puree, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1/4 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, 1/8 teaspoon of cinnamon. And other ingredients we'll need for this is our cold brew coffee, 1 cup of that, 1 cup of ice, and whipped cream, and pumpkin spice for the top with a straw. Let's get to it. So first you want to get your ice and get that put into a cup and set aside. This recipe is for a 20 to 22 ounce iced coffee, give or take on how much ice you put in your cup. So then you want to take a mixing bowl out, and you're going to need a whisk for this, but you want to pour in your sweetened condensed milk. And like I said, I'll have a link for the description for the keto version of this with low carb love. So just check the description box if you're keto. And you're going to add in your heavy whipping cream. And then next, a little bit of your water. And this is just for one 20 to 22 ounce glass of iced coffee. So if you need multiple coffees, multiply that recipe. Now add in your pumpkin puree, not pie filling, it must say puree. And then we're going to add in our spices, our pumpkin pie spice, and our delicious cinnamon. And then you're going to go ahead and grab your whisk and whisk that up until it is well combined. Now I wait to add my vanilla in until after I have these ingredients well combined. Now if you're doing a latte version and you want to do a warm coffee, you'll do the same ingredients, but you do it over low to low medium heat. Just make sure not to have that heat too high. You can scorch your milk products, your dairy, so you want to do that over the pan, and you want to warm this part of it up, and then also use your a hot cup of brewed coffee. So add in your vanilla and stir that up. There you go. And then also, if you have a frother, it is a good idea after you warm up your creamer when doing a latte to go ahead and froth that with a frother. I went ahead and poured mine into my little measuring cup here so it's easier for me to pour into my glass and get that out of the bowl. Scrape all that goodness out. That pumpkin iced coffee. So good. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab my glass of ice, and we're going to go ahead, have my straw in already. It makes it easier for me. I'm using the Starbucks cold brew. You can use whatever cold brew you want, or if you make your own cold brew coffee, that's great. Pour a cup of cold brew coffee in over the ice first, and then we're going to top it off with that delicious pumpkin pie creamer that we made. Yummy. Look at that. And then don't forget, put some of that whipped cream right on top. And like I said, I'll have a link for her video for you to do the keto if you are keto. And then you sprinkle with some cinnamon or pumpkin pie spice, whichever makes you happy. And there you go. Now you've got your pumpkin iced coffee. Now for our drizzle for our cake. You're going to want 1 cream cheese frosting container, 1/4 cup of pumpkin puree, 1/4 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, and 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. So now let's get to doing the frosting for our coffee cake. First, I'm doing a half recipe, so you'll notice I won't be doing a whole entire container of frosting. I think I did a little less than half, and honestly, we ended up throwing half of what I made away. So, probably the half recipe is enough for a whole cake, depending on how much you like. I went ahead and put that into my measuring cup that is microwave safe, and I warmed that up in the microwave for 20 seconds. And as you can see, I gave it a quick stir to make sure that I blended it well, because sometimes the microwave, it doesn't hit every little bit. So you want to do that. Make sure it's smooth. Then go ahead and add in your pumpkin puree. Yummy. You want to stir that until it is smooth. And once you have that smooth, I'm going to go ahead and add in our delicious spices. And then get that well combined as well. It's just our cinnamon and our pumpkin pie spice. That's all we'll be putting into the frosting because it has everything else. I'm going to stir that up and combine that well. And then we're going to pour that over the top of our cake that is cooled. And we have cooled this for about 20 minutes. And as you can see, I still have some coffee there in the background to drink with this delicious cake. Yummy. So you want to go ahead and just pour that directly over the top of your pecan coffee cake. I would say let this sit for about 20 minutes to an hour. But honestly, the next day, oh my God, that cake was so much better. So if you can withstand and hold for 24 hours, do it. Well, of course, I couldn't. I could not wait. So I cut into mine right away. Of course, my frosting topping is still runny from microwaving it. But I went ahead and cut into it anyway because I just had to try this. And that cake was so delicious. It was so bouncy. Look at how delicious that is. Oh, yummy. When I pressed on the cake, it just bounced right back up. See, and we didn't even have to make it like the box said. And you can add some whipped cream or some vanilla ice cream with that if you would like. And I did go ahead and do the whip and put a little bit of cinnamon on top. It was absolutely divine. And there you have it, a pumpkin spice iced coffee and a pumpkin pecan coffee cake inspired by Tiffany Telladay from Waterbury, Connecticut. We love you, sweet Tiff. Thanks a lot. We thank you for being here on Cooking with Kayla D, and we hope to see you again soon. God bless, and stay in that kitchen and keep on cooking. And remember, we have pictures at the end for you.
I thank my God upon every remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine, making request for you, all with joy, for your fellowship in the gospel from the first day until now, being confident of this very thing, that he who has begun a good work in you will complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. Philippians chapter 1, verses 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Today we're celebrating our local starfish. So today we have a few photos of starfish here that we have managed to capture in the beach, and also were sent in by subscribers and locals here in the area. Our starfish are so beautiful. Also, the hurricane is gone and our beaches are back to normal with beautiful sunrises. We thank you once again for being here on Cooking with Kayla D, and we hope to see you again soon. You can subscribe to our channel or click on this playlist for more delicious recipes.